Hey everybody, how's it going? I'm Paul and with the Dicey Review, and tonight we're going to be learning how to play the 1 to 4 player game Cuphead, the fast rolling dice game. Cuphead comes with all of the components that you see here, including 1 boss board, 8 boss battle card decks, 1 boss health dial, 30 wallop cards, a plastic boss stand, 12 parry tokens, 40 coin tokens, 5 time tokens, and 16 health tokens, 4 different player boards representing 4 different characters in the game, 6 action dice per character, 4 super art envelopes, and a pad of save sheets. To begin setup, each player will select a character and then take that character's player board. Then each player will take the 6 action dice that are associated with that character and put 3 HP markers on the health spaces indicated on their player board. Then players will unfold the boss board and place it in the center of the play area. Then shuffle the 30 wallop cards and then place them below their indicated space on the boss board. Next, place all of the coin, parry tokens, and time tokens in a general supply next to the play area. After all of this has been done, you're ready to open the first boss deck box. In the first boss scenario, you'll be fighting the Root Pack, 3 separate mini-bosses with varying difficulty. Remove the cover card, and you'll find the Stage 1 boss. This card will go in the provided plastic standee, and then be placed in the indicated space at the top of the boss board. For the purposes of our video, we're going to lay this card down so it's easier to see. Next, remove all of the Phase 1 attack cards, the ones that have the indicated boss's face on them. Take cards from the deck until you see this card telling you to stop. Set the rest of these cards aside for now. All of these cards are Phase 1 attack cards. Shuffle them thoroughly, and then place them to the left of the boss board as a draw pile. The boss will receive a different number of HP depending on the player count. In a 1-player game, this boss would receive 6 health, in a 2-player game 8, 3-player 10, and 4-player game 12 health. In our example, we're doing a 2-player game, so we'll give this boss 8 health. This is tracked by turning the boss health dial to the indicated number. Next, players will decide as a group if they want to use a 10, 15, or 20-second timer during the game. Using shorter timers is much more difficult, but it will award bonus points and a potentially better score at the end of each scenario. After all players have decided how much time they would like to use, download the free Cuphead Fast Rolling Dice Game Timer and Scoring Companion app. This app can be found on the App Store or on the Google Play Store. After this is done, you're ready to play. Cuphead is played over a number of rounds until the players have either lost or won the scenario. Players will play each round simultaneously at the same time, and each round will follow the same 5 steps. The first step of each round is to reveal the attack cards. The players will reveal 3 attack cards, and if there's a card that shows the wallop keyword, they'll reveal a 4th attack card. Each attack card has a symbol that the players are trying to roll on their dice to avoid that attack. After the attack cards have been revealed, it's then time to set and start the round timer. If you're using the Cuphead app, first select how many players will be playing, which boss box you're using, so in our example we're using boss 1, and then how long you would like the timer to be for the entire game. We'll use the 20-second timer as that's the easiest amount of time. You can also use any timer if you want to. You don't have to use the companion app. But the companion app is very nice because it calculates your score at the end of the game, and it also has fun thematic sound effects. As soon as all that information has been entered and you've clicked ready on the start screen, you can then hit ready to begin the countdown and start the round.
This match will get red hot.
As soon as the timer is started, each player will simultaneously take all of their 6 dice and roll them as fast as they can to try and match the symbols on each attack card on the boss board. If a player rolls a symbol that matches one of the attack cards, they can assign it to the matching window of their player board that matches the attack card. There are a few things to note about assigning dice during the roll and assign dice phase of a round. players have to assign dice from left to right. So for instance, a player would have to assign dice in one of the two spaces in this window and then move to this window and so on. But a player can skip an attack window if they want and just move on to the next windows. So for instance, this player could just start by placing this icon in this wallop attack window to get a wallop card. And then they could move on to the next space and continue assigning dice and hopefully roll a damage to fill this last spot. It is important to know, however, that if you skip an attack space, you can never come back to that space or assign any dice to that space once you've moved on. So in this instance, the first attack card shows a jump symbol or a foot. So this player has assigned a foot in their first column here to match that card space on the boss board. By doing this, the player has avoided that particular boss attack. If an attack card only has one symbol to avoid, players can, if they want to, also assign finger gun symbols in addition to the needed dice to avoid the attack to damage the boss. So for instance, this player played a foot to avoid the attack, and they played a finger gun to do 1 damage to the boss. Wallop cards are slightly different than normal boss attack cards. If a player doesn't assign any die to a wallop card, they won't take damage from that card during the Resolve Boss Attack Cards phase, but if a player is able to successfully assign a diamond symbol to a wallop card, they'll get to draw one of the wallop cards, which provide useful benefits for players during the game. And it's important to note that players can assign a finger gun damage die to a wallop attack space just like they can a normal dodge space. After each roll, a player can assign as many dice as they want to, in any order they want to. So for instance, a player could assign a damage die to a space first, hoping to roll the symbol needed to dodge the attack on a later roll. After assigning any dice a player wants to from one particular roll, they can re-roll again. Once again, a player can re-roll as quickly and as many times as they would like before the timer runs out. If a player does re-roll, however, they have to re-roll all of the dice in their unassigned pool. So in this instance, they would have to re-roll all 3 of these dice. If a player doesn't get what they need on the next roll, they can immediately roll again. Players will continue to roll and assign dice until the timer is run out. After the timer is run out, players can assign any dice from their final roll to assign on an attack space if they wish. So in this example, the player rolled the parry symbol that they needed on the last attack space, and they also have 1 hit die remaining, so they could assign that to this last space as well to do some damage to the boss. After the timer's gone off and players have rolled and assigned all of their dice, including any dice from their final roll if they want to, the players will then resolve all of the boss attack cards from left to right on the boss board. If a player assigned the correct die symbol to the correct space on their player board, then they'll dodge that particular attack and take no damage. So in this instance, the player playing Cuphead didn't assign any dice, so they failed that card, and they would remove 1 of their HP tokens. The player playing Miss Chalice, however, assigned the correct dodge symbol, so they would dodge this attack and take no damage. In addition to dodging the attack, they also were able to assign a finger gun damage die to this space. Since they successfully avoided an attack and placed a damage die in that window, they would do 1 damage to the boss. To indicate this, you would lower the health on this dial by 1. If a player assigns the diamond symbol in a window that has a wallop card, they would be able to draw 1 wallop card from the top of the deck. In this case, each player assigned a die, so they would both draw 1 wallop card. Players can also assign damage to an attack window where they're just resolving a wallop card as well. So in this instance, since the player successfully placed a diamond symbol, that allowed them to draw a wallop card. But they also assigned a damage die, which would allow them to do damage to the boss. And this player used their EX die. Each player has 1 EX die that's black instead of all of the other dice. These dice function in the exact same way as all of the other dice, unless you're assigning them for an attack. EX dice will unlock the special ability of whatever weapon you're using. In the first game, you simply do 2 damage when an EX die is used to attack. But future weapons may have different abilities, like this spread gun, that will do 3 damage if the die is assigned on the last attack card. Players will continue to resolve each boss card looking at the dice that they've assigned to each window matching those boss cards. And many of the wallop cards that players gain during their turns can have useful effects that they can use during the attack phase or during any phase of the game. It's important to note that wallop cards can be used right away. They can even be used on a future attack card within the same resolve attack card phase. So for instance, on the second attack card, each player drew a wallop card. On the third attack card, both players have what they need to dodge, but the player playing Miss Chalice didn't assign a damage die. Many of the wallop cards simply provide a die face that players can use and assign during the resolution of the boss attack cards. So for instance, since the Miss Chalice player gained the wallop card during the second boss card, they could use it immediately during the third boss card resolution and discard this card to assign a damage die to this spot, dealing 1 more damage to the boss. Some boss cards will have the parry die symbol. If a player is able to successfully dodge this attack, they would gain 1 parry token on their player board. Since the players were both able to assign one of the parry tokens to their player board, they would each collect a parry token and place it on the space of their board. Each player can only hold up to 3 parry tokens. Parry tokens are useful during the game as they can revive another player if they've lost all of their health, and they can also be used for certain abilities that can be gained later throughout the game. If a player assigns the incorrect symbol to a wallop card, such as this duck symbol instead of the diamond, nothing happens on that wallop card. If a player assigns the incorrect symbol to an attack card, they don't dodge that attack and instead they take 1 damage. And if a player assigns the correct symbol to dodge an attack, but then assigns another non-necessary symbol that's not an attack die, nothing happens, that die is simply wasted. After players have resolved each boss damage card and assigned any damage to either themselves or the boss, all of the attack cards would be cleared and placed in the discard pile to the right of the boss board. Then players would start a new round from step 1, revealing the attack cards. If a boss hasn't been defeated and you have to reveal and resolve the last 3 attack cards, players will simply reshuffle all of the discarded attack cards and form a new draw deck. But for each time players have to do this, they'll take one of these time tokens, which will negatively impact your final score. It's important to note that if a boss's health is reduced to 0 during their first attack card, the rest of the attack cards aren't resolved. The boss is immediately defeated. One other quick note about boss damage cards. Some damage cards require an attack symbol or a wallop diamond die symbol to dodge the attack. It's important to note that if a player assigns an attack symbol to dodge this attack or a diamond symbol to dodge this attack, they don't do a damage by assigning this 1 damage die. That simply dodges the attack. In a similar way, they wouldn't draw a wallop card because this card doesn't say wallop in the window here. They would simply dodge the attack by placing the diamond die. A player can, however, assign another attack die after the required attack die to dodge to do a damage like normal. If players are able to successfully KO a boss by removing all of their health, the attack cards and the standee card would be removed, and then players would reveal the next phase of the boss deck. In this instance, they would reveal phase 2, the next boss to fight in the root pack. You would set up this boss in the exact same way as the phase 1 boss. First by taking this card, placing it in the standee, and then gathering all of the phase 2 attack cards until you reveal the next stop card. It's important to note that players don't reset or gain any health in between phases of a boss fight, so defeating the phase 1 boss and moving to the second phase won't gain any health for the players. Players would then fight this phase 2 boss until they're either able to successfully defeat it or all the players lose. If after defeating a boss phase the players reveal one of the King Dice stop cards and they reveal a knockout card, this means that they've won the scenario and defeated the boss. They would then determine their final score and they would have a chance to buy items from an item store, which we'll talk about here in a moment. If during any point of the game a player loses their last HP token, they have to immediately discard any parry tokens and wallop cards that they may have. Any other player at the table could then, if they have a previously earned parry token, spend that token to revive the player who was knocked out. The revived player would gain 1 health token and then be able to rejoin in the game starting in the next round. They wouldn't be able to take any damage, deal any damage, or gain any wallop cards or parry tokens for the rest of the round. If a player were to lose all of their health and no other player had any parry tokens to revive that player, the game is over and the players have lost. If players are able to successfully defeat all of the phases of a boss and KO the boss, they can then determine their final grade by entering in all of these pieces of information into the companion app. After doing all of these things, they could click to get their final grade. In addition to determining their final score, each player would also gain 4 coins for defeating a boss for the first time. These coins can be spent in Porkrind's Emporium, which we'll talk about now. At the end of each scenario deck, players will find Porkrind Emporium cards featuring different equipment and charms that they can buy to power up their abilities and their weapons throughout the rest of the scenarios. Each upgrade card would cost the listed number of coins on the left side of each card. So in this first scenario, each weapon or charm that a player decides to buy would cost 3 coins. Each player could have up to 1 charm and 1 weapon equipped for each boss battle. Charms will provide various different benefits, and any weapon that a player is able to acquire will cover up their starting weapon. This will provide different amounts of damage and a potentially different effect for the player's EX die. Alright everybody, thanks so much for watching. That was our video. We hope that it was helpful and we hope that it was informative. If you have any questions about how to play the game, please comment below or email me directly at thedicey@gmail.com. Make sure and connect with us on social media or by visiting our Board Game Geek Guild. Thanks so much for watching, and until next time, I'll see you at the table.